So here in the middle, of course, we have the digital tachometer. And on the right-hand side here, we got the hydraulic temperature. We have the water level reading, and of course the engine load reading at the bottom here. On the left-hand side here, of course, we have the oil pressure for the rear engine. We have the temperature, and of course on the top up here, you will see we have the park of the chassis. Because when you release the park, that thing will go off. So that always alerts the operator that the park brake is on. Now, anytime, of course, that there needs to be any kind of troubleshooting done, electrical troubleshooting that is, in order to do that, the first thing you do here at the bottom, you push the F4. You have F1, F2, F3, and F4. Maintenance. You push maintenance. At that same time, of course, you will see here it says service access level 0. Now, at this point, you push F2, escape, and right arrow at the same time, hold it for 3 seconds. At that point, that 0 is going to turn into 2. Now you're in the maintenance screen. Okay? Now you can actually do all kinds of troubleshooting here from now on. Now the first thing that we're going to do is, it is a possibility that at some point or time you're going to have a switch that is bad. If that is the case, of course, you can go scroll down to what it says CAN switch banks. Okay? Now you can push OK, and then you're going to see every one of these switches. All you have to do is go in and push each switch either way. So what it's going to tell you is, if you got a red light on either side of that switch is good. So what you're doing at this point is you activating the switch and you're sending a command to the controller, and the controller then sends you an answer back through the screen, tells you that he got that note. So therefore that switch is good. So if you think that you have a bad switch, all you have to do is do this, and therefore you do not have to replace the switch bank. That way you save a lot of money. So most likely your problem will be lying someplace else and not on the switch. Okay? Okay, now we're going to go back. Okay, and at this point we're going to go up to what it says inputs. Okay, when you push inputs, what you'll see here is a series of yellow lights next to an operation. Okay, right over here you will see that this is the water tank level switch that is activated. Therefore, the water level switch, of course, is at the water tank, and that level switch, it looks like so. This is the low water level switch, which means at that point that the water level is low. There is no water inside the tank. Now when you fill up the water, this is actually going to go up, and at that point, when this is actually going up, the warning on your inputs there is going to go out. Now, pushing next, of course, we're going to see that we have some more sensors that they're actually activated. Okay, these are all your inputs. Now we're going to go back, and we're going to scroll down to the outputs. Now all these outputs that you have here, when you push OK, what you can do, you can actually scroll down to an output that you want to, or a function for that matter. We're going to use as an example the sweeping head down. Okay? You're going to have a yellow arrow that shows that function. Okay? When you push OK, that arrow is going to start blinking. And then you're going to see on the switch bank that the directional valve is actually activated. Now, what does that mean? That means that at that point, you going through your controller, sending the controller a command to the function, to the valve, and the valve is actually activating. So therefore, there is no electrical issue all the way to the valve. And you can do that with any other kind of function, of course. If you push OK again, that is actually going to go out. And then you can go to a different function, for that matter. You can go to the left gutter broom tilt in, push OK, and then there is your left gutter broom in valve that it activates. So you can do all your troubleshooting from right inside your console. All right. Now, we're going to go back, and then we're going to go down to a calibration. Okay, from here you can actually calibrate any kind of function that there is, any kind of calibration you can do on the sweeper. For example, the first thing that there is here is the water sensor calibration. The water sensor is located in the back of the sweeper above the differential. Now, anytime that you need to calibrate the sensor, it's either because the sensor might go bad, or for that matter, if it's damaged or anything like that. You can actually follow the direction inside the manual to tell you exactly the steps on how to calibrate that. And then, of course, next one, we'll go to motor speeds. Now, on this calibration, of course, you can actually go here and calibrate the speed, the minimum and the maximum speed of the brooms when they have the variable speed valves on. Okay. Dealer options. Now, here on the dealer options, of course, is you're going to see the different options that are available for the dealers. And at this point, of course, if a sweeper does not have a certain option, at that point they can actually get the hardware and wiring and all that. And of course, they plug everything up, and then, of course, the dealer will actually activate the option to the controller by a engineering setup password. Next will be the lift leader calibration, which is the lift leader that is on the side of the fan housing, and that one, of course, it is calibrated from here. It has the specifications and step-by-step instructions are inside the manual that you can follow very, very easy. Now, the system platform is the last one on your screen here, and what we see is A7 Tornado, A8 Twister, and of course the A9 Monsoon. Now again, depending on what sweeper you have, you should actually have the particular sweeper highlighted. If you have an A7, the A7 Tornado should be highlighted. If for some reason it's not, and you have an A7, the A8 is highlighted, eventually that is going to be sending some communication errors, so therefore a lot of things are not going to work properly. Now, the next thing on the screen, of course, which is very, very important, is the engine trouble codes. When you enter to the engine trouble codes, what it is here is actually the information from the engine ECM. It comes right through the control box into the screen of your console. So what you're going to see here, if for some reason there is any kind of trouble code comes through the ECM of the engine, is actually going to show two numbers, SPN and FMI. Those two numbers, of course, they're going to have an explanation, and of course they are the explanations on a hard copy that you can have. Depending, of course, what kind of engine you got, the explanations are there. However, whether it's a Cummins engine or a John Deere engine, though the repairs for those problems, they're not available, and of course at that point it needs to be transported or taken to the particular engine dealer to be taken care of. The other thing, of course, here is to see if there is any kind of situation to where there is a regen issue with the back engine. If it needs to be regenerated manually, or it needs to be, or it shows that it needs to be regenerated, is going to show up right here. The other thing, of course, we see is how much depth level is actually got for the back engine. Okay, what kind of fuel rate that engine is running, and of course the engine load and how much soot is got inside the regen filter of the auxiliary engine. All that information is very useful simply because that is going to show the operator that it needs to be steps taken right away for the regeneration to happen. As we discussed before, this is the new Tier 4 final console on the A-series sweepers, A7, A8, or A9. And of course, as we discussed on the other Tier 4 final console, in order for this to actually enable, all you have to do is turn the key of the truck ignition on, and at that point everything is actually coming to life. So now what we have here is blue lights, as we did on the other console as well, and of course we do have the blue flashing lights on either side of the controller as we saw before. Now on the screen, this screen of course is a little bigger. It's a 7-inch screen, and of course you can see there the buttons are a little different, and what we see here is actually the shape of the sweeper. We have the left broom and the right broom. We got the front spray bar here. We have the beacon right here on the top. That will be the beacon on the cab, and then we do have another beacon or a strobe in the back of the sweeper. We have two dump lights. We have two curb lights here, and those will actually eliminate as soon as we turn them on, and of course we're going to demonstrate that here in just a second. Now again, of course, in order to do any kind of troubleshooting on this console as well, what you have to do always, you're going to have to make sure that the console key is on the off position. Not only on this console, but also on the other Tier 4 final console as well. Now, in order, of course, to do troubleshooting on this console here, what we have to do is we have to push maintenance, and then the first button and the right arrow at the same time, and then service access level 2 is going to eliminate. Okay. Now from here, of course, what we can see is again CR inputs, CR0200 inputs. Okay. And then of course we're going to push OK here. And there are your inputs. Okay. Now again, as you can see here, there's no switch that is actually activated. Everything it is in good shape. Okay, we'll go to the next one, and then of course right over here you can see the hopper door is closed, and it is. So therefore you have a indication that the door is closed. The hopper is actually down, and then it indicates that the proximity switch is activated, and the hopper it is down as well. And then of course right above it tells us the park the park brake is actually on as well. So now we're going to go back. And we're going to go down to what it says the outputs. Okay, we're going to push OK. And when we got the outputs here, of course, every time that we need to go into a different function, we're going to go down what we did before, sweeping head down, push OK, and then as you can see, you have the flashing light there next to the sweeping head, and of course the directional valve is actually on at that point. The same thing, of course, if we go down to a different function, either let's say the gutter broom GO in, we can actually do that. And then at that point, you can actually activate that particular function from inside the cab. Okay. Then of course you can go down to the next one, which is actually the left gutter broom tilt. Same thing here. You can see the flashing light, and of course the tilt valve is actually going to be illuminated, and that is actually going to show you that that particular one is lighting up. Now we're going to go back, and then of course we're going to go down to the next one where it says inclination sensor. Now there is a sensor optional on the A-series sweeper that is actually telling the operator if he's in an incline. Every time that the sweeper needs to be dumped, it needs to be on a level and a sturdy surface. So therefore, if for some reason the sweeper is on the side of the road and it's in an angle, it is dangerous for the sweeper well-being to be dumped at that point. So if you have an inclination sensor at that point, that sensor reads the inclination and it alerts the operator that it's not safe to dump the sweeper at that point. Now we're going to go down a little below here, the switches and the brightness. So we come here, and of course it's the same thing. You can see the switches. Any switch that you actually activate. Now what it does show you, this is bank 1, switch number 3. It's on the top, off, on, off. That tells you that that switch is good. Okay. Now you can actually activate any other switch. This is switch number 2. I'm sorry, switch number 4, bank number 2. And it is good on both ways. Now the other thing, of course, here is anytime that you do that, it's going to show you communication error bank 5. Bank 5 is the outside controls on the right-hand side. There is also a outside control bank on the left-hand side, which we're going to demonstrate here shortly. However, if you did have a optional bank 5 on the right-hand side, of course, this will not be there. So the controller is actually looking for that bank. Of course, it's not there, and that is the reason is not telling you, is telling you that there is a communication error there. Now, the brightness, you can go up, or you can actually make it lower. Brighter. Okay. So, backing out of that. Now there is also a there is also a timer set point placed there, and those are actually just delays on the operation of different functions. So there's all those are actually factory setups. So it's not necessary to change any of those. They're always supposed to be left alone. If something is not operating correctly, it has nothing to do with the timer set points. So that should be left alone. Going down to calibration, same thing here, the weight sensor calibration. Anytime, of course, that switch is going bad or it needs to be replaced or it's actually out of sequence and it needs to be calibrated, all you have to do is look in the manual, the step-by-step instructions how to set that up. The motor speed calibration here, of course. Now, usually it's set up to about 750 on the high point, 0 on the low. If for some reason the broom motor has to be changed or anything like that, you can actually come here and check that to make sure that this is actually the way it's supposed to be. Okay, next it's the dealer options. Okay, now there's a head bump option over here. This is an option to where the operator can actually hit that and the front of the head will actually come up first. And then of course you got another option here, the sweep in reverse, that is actually activated. So there are different options. Now again, as I said before, anytime that an option needs to be added to the sweeper, the dealer can actually put the hardware on, hook it up, and then of course they have to go in and turn that on in the controller by a password that is given to the dealer. The leaf bleeder calibration, the same way here. You can actually step-by-step instructions are inside the manual that you can follow those up and get that taken care of. And then of course there are different platform selections here. There are different sweepers that actually have this setup, this the new CAN bus console and screen, and of course there are more options right here that you can actually see. Now what you see here, this is an A7 Tornado that we are demonstrating. Okay, of course if it was an A8, it would have to be the red dot was going to be at the A8 twister. Now of course if there was a single engine, it would be saying that it's a twin engine, it's a single engine. This one of course is an A7 Tornado, is a twin engine A7 Tornado, and therefore it's got a Tier 4 final engine. Okay, of course we have an option over here for a Tier 3 engine. Of course that is going to different types of sweepers. As you can see here, there it is to where it actually directs the operator or the maintenance personnel to make sure that they have the correct system location onto the platform. Okay, back on the main screen of the sweeper console. So here, as you can see, we got two switches right over here, and those are the engine RPMs. Of course, the top one is more RPMs, the bottom one is down to idle. Sweep and reverse, again, this button over here is actually activating the sweep and reverse. So if you put the chassis in reverse, the brooms will actually come up, and of course you can actually sweep in reverse. You can put in reverse and sweep. However, if this is not on and you put in reverse, so everything is actually going to, the brooms, the sweeping head is going to raise to the stow position, and then of course the RPMs, and the RPMs are going to go down to idle, and the water system is going to cut off. Now going through the operations here, I'm going to turn on the switch for the console, and of course at that point I'm going to push standby. That actually going to activate all the switches, and right over here you will see that I'm going to activate, of course, the front spray bar, and that will show you the water coming on the front spray bar. Turning on the front spray bar, of course, you can see the front spray bar is eliminated, and the front spray bar is spraying at this point. Okay, now the sweeping head water, it's on, and there is the water for the sweeping head. Right gutter broom water. Left gutter broom water. Left gutter broom light. Right gutter broom light. Dump lights. Another function of the console is the leaf bleeder. The leaf bleeder is the sweeping enhancer that opens and closes the exhaust on the side of the fan housing. Now again, when the leaf bleeder is open, it actually sweeps better light debris like leaves and papers and things like that. When it's closed, it's more efficient when it comes to construction, sand, gravel, and debris like that. So when we open the leaf bleeder, you can actually see here the percentage that the leaf bleeder is open. The sensor is right above the leaf bleeder door, and it actually shows the operator how much that door is open. Now, of course, when you close it, then of course it is closed all the way. This is the 2023 A-Series console Tier 4 final. We have the bigger display, and of course the console is a little more confined, and of course we do have 3 switch banks. Switch bank 1, 2, and 3. Definitely every time that you have a switch that may go bad, of course the electrical part of the switch cannot be replaced by itself. You have to replace the whole switch bank. However, the actuators, the plastic covers, they are replaceable, and you can actually get those individually. Now, at the same time, of course, we do have 2 switch banks that are on the outside. On the left-hand side is switch bank number 4, and there is an optional one on the right-hand side, which is switch bank number 5. Again, it is, of course, from time to time when you're doing some kind of troubleshooting throughout the display, it is a possibility you're going to have a communication error, switch bank number 5. That means that the controller is looking for switch number 5. However, if that option is not put on the unit, therefore that is actually just the controller looking for switch bank number 5. So we're going to go outside and actually look at switch number 4, switch bank number 4, and talk about that a little bit further. So as we discussed before, this is the switch bank number 4. These are the outside controls that the operator can use while he's outside working on the sweeper. Now, of course, the way this works, you push the enable button, and then of course the outside controls are getting enabled. So right now you can actually use those while the engine is actually running, or if you would like to, you can actually use those while the engine is not running, just using the 12-volt pump. Of course, when the inside panel is energized and the standby is enabled, so all you have to do is actually use any of the switches, and then of course that activates the 12-volt pump. So when the standby is enabled inside on the console, all you have to do is of course go up with the hopper, and at the same time the hopper will go up, and of course the hopper shaker will engage at the same time. And of course, when you're ready to bring the hopper down, all you have to do is, of course, hit the down switch. And the hopper will come all the way down. Now, again, at the same time, of course, from here you can engage your dump lights in the back. Of course, the dump lights will come on automatically when you dump the hopper. However, you can actually do that from the panel all by itself, and of course, you can actually turn them off as you would like to. The other thing, of course, is right here you can open and close the rear door. And then close it. And of course, when you get done with that operation, you can actually disable the outside control panel.